Jeannie, why is clinical research such an incredible, awesome place to work? And why are so many people loving their jobs when they're in this field and really, really attracted to the field?
So there's a couple of answers. The first one is there are lots of people that want to get into medicine, but maybe they don't have the years and the time and the money to go to medical school or nursing school. And this is a great way to get in and to be able to help people and contribute and to share and collaborate to move tomorrow's standard of care forward. The other answer is that why do people stay? People like me, I've loved it because there hasn't been a day that's ever been boring. Standard of care is always changing, always being bettered by new devices and technology and medications. And I find myself in the seat of giving hope to our patients and giving hope to this family to allow the ones that we love to live a better, longer, healthier life.
Wow. And can you explain to the group exactly what clinical research is? How is it different from other types of research? I know people work on research papers at school. They do psychology research projects. Like, what is clinical research?
Yeah, so this is not your academic research where you have to pore over articles and pull data to prove a point. It's not the bench research where you're having to work with beakers and pipettes. It's not the animal research that is so necessary that is the precursor to clinical research. It's taking those methodologies and working with patients and working in clinics to make this protocol come to life and to use patients and understand how this is going to work with them and in them so that we can discover if this will work. And it's growing because we have so much research, because there's so much more on the cutting edge. We're entering the dawn of genetic research and stem cell that we can't seem to keep up.
Yeah, and just to expound on that, what we're doing in clinical research is we're finding tomorrow's treatments and cures to diseases. We're advancing medicine. So I just pulled this picture because this is a picture of a nurse and a child and a mom, but there are so many stories of kids who have different types of conditions and illnesses, and it breaks our heart to see a sick child. But clinical research is advancing medicine so we can find treatments so we can all live longer and healthier lives. And this could be for cancer treatments, for cardiology, for diabetes, for a wide range of diseases and disorders. And we are working on that cutting edge, as Jeannie said, and we are finding the cures to these illnesses. And Jeannie, this is a growing industry, isn't it?
It is. I don't think it's ever slowed down. It's exponentially growing.
Yeah. So, I mean, the estimates are it's 150 to 165 billion just being spent on clinical research. And that's just the tip of the iceberg because the global pharmaceutical industry is over 1.3 trillion. So there's so much investment going on in this industry. Can you explain what this chart is about novel drug approvals? What does that mean?
So this specifically speaks to medicine. So these are not your devices. So in my career, I just always remember kind of the low 20s or the high teens. And over the last few years, we've kind of jumped into the 40s. And most recently last year, it was 59 new trials or new drugs that have been approved for a specific indication by the FDA. In the US, the FDA is our regulatory body. And it sounds like not very much when there's hundreds of thousands of trials out there. But what this means is now we have a new player on the market that's better, that works for our patients for that specific indication. And so this, David is throwing up this clinical trials growth globally. And you can see where I kind of worked in the early 2000s where it's just kind of a steady, slow pace, and it has exponentially grown.
Yeah, so we're in a crazy growing industry. There's so many jobs, and now we need to figure out how do we get into this industry. And first, I want to talk about the challenges, Jeannie, because we talk to person after person after person that says, I've applied to get into clinical research. I see 100 job openings for CRAs, for CRCs, and I'm not getting an interview. Can you talk about those challenges? And I imagine many of you in the audience have experienced that. So Jeannie, can you touch on that a bit?
So I don't trust you if I'm the hiring person. You've never worked in clinical research. How do I know that you're going to take care of this patient? Because you're taking this unknown thing, this new trial that we're going to be testing, right? You have no training or experience. How do I know that you're going to take care of my patients? How do I know that you have the training and the knowledge and the vocabulary, even just the basic vocabulary that is needed? And so that's one challenge, the lack of experience, the no knowledge. The other one is the connections. Oftentimes it's not what you know, but who you know. If you have both the what you know and the who you know, then that's how you can sometimes get in. So one challenge that I often see is people don't know what clinical research is, and then they don't know who works in clinical research. But I would challenge everyone on this webinar, start asking around. You might know that someone works for a pharmaceutical company or for this thing called a CRO, which is a contract research organization. And they actually work in clinical research, but it's a thing that people don't know how to describe. And so often they just kind of say they work in science and medicine.
I hear of so many students that say, wow, I've been working in research for 5-10 years. I've been working in a lab, and we do bench research, we do cancer research, all kinds of things. And what they don't realize is the lab research is very different from clinical research, because in clinical research, we're working with new treatments in patients. We're actually in hospitals, we're in doctors' offices, and this is working with patients. And as you said, we need to get experienced, well-trained people. And that is key. And so what I thought we would do now, Jeannie, is hear about some success stories. I mean, we've talked about the challenge, right, of needing experience. What are the 3 key elements to getting hired? Can you touch on those for us?
Yeah, so we call it, instead of TLC, it's TEC, training, experience, and connections. And so at Fastrack, what we do best is the training. And we do this in person, we do this online, we re-emphasize it online again, and we give the actual practical experience through an internship. Now, the internship is an unpaid experience for a period of time to apply everything that has been practiced over and over from class and online, so that by the time you land into a job, you're able to walk and talk like about a 6 to 9 month old. I have seen our new employers call me out of the blue telling me that these students of ours who are their new employees, they can't believe how much they know. And oftentimes our students are connected through our network, our partners, our internship sites, our mentors. And so these are kind of the 3 key elements that we see at Fastrack. We know that we can provide all 3, the training, the experience, and the connections, because we provide the who, or maybe the who to the who. In research, we call it the big, small world.
Yeah, so can you give an example? And we've had just recently over 45 students hired just since June who have taken our course. And that's really phenomenal, because our average class size is 11 students. And we usually have 1 or 2 classes a month. So just in the past few months that we've had 45 students hired I'm so excited. And they're really moving right from the classroom into positions. Can you tell us about some of these students? This is Candice.
Absolutely. So I love bragging about my students. So this is Candice, who came through in July, and she came to us having worked in massage therapy. She was a manager, and she just wanted to do more. She was getting good at what she did, but she was getting bored with what she did. And she kind of thought, how can I advance my career in healthcare? Because she knew she wanted to work with people and to better their wellness. And so she started to kind of go online, look for different jobs, because she had already reached her ceiling within her own industry. And so the more that she read about this position of clinical research, she was really fascinated by what she could bring, because she knew that she had the knowledge to be trainable. She's very humble, and that's what I really like about her. When she came through our course in July in Dallas, she knew what she didn't know. She knew that she needed help, And that's what I love about her. She grasped onto every single topic that we could teach her. She made connections with our instructors, and she worked with us so that we could help her with her resume and with her interviewing skills. And so she is a student who took training and connections to a whole new level, so much so that she didn't actually get to the internship part. And she's a smarty pants, and she got a job before she could even get an internship. So that's why I'm so proud of her, because she applied it immediately and right away, and she didn't question any of the methods and what we coached her.
Yeah, so we provide 8 days of boot camp training as well as online training, and then we go into an internship. And in the last day of our boot camp training, we talk about how to connect to professionals in the industry, how we update our resumes, we update our cover letters, and we teach our students the interview process and how to present themselves. And Candice didn't wait a week before internship started. She got hired right away, but she still will be receiving her diploma because she applies her work experience as internship credits, and she's still going to be receiving that final diploma. And she was just a student just recently, which is really exciting. This is a student who took our class in Orlando, Florida. She's from the East Coast, and her name is Piranha. Piranha was recently immigrated from India. Her husband lives here, and she came over, and she'd only been in the country for a few months. And so as a new immigrant, she was able to work in the country. I think she had status through her marriage, but she needed to really learn how we do clinical research here in the United States. She had a biology background. She had a really great education level, with her bachelor's in biology. But she knew she had no connections, not the proper training or experience. And she took our class and then did her internship in California and was hired right out of her internship. So in a very short amount of time, even though she's only been in the country for a few months, she was able to transition right into a career in clinical research. And we're so proud of her as she's advancing her career. And we have so many stories like this, but we also have a lot of people from diverse backgrounds, from every continent, and from every educational background as well. Jeannie, do you want to talk about Mario?
Absolutely. So Mario also came through in July. And so he's kind of your overachieving student who wants to do everything just right, because he too is also very humble. He has a bachelor's of arts and science in biochemistry with this business certificate. So kind of like a minor in business. So he was very interested in the science and research part of clinical research, but he was also interested in the business side. And so he also came through our program, asked all the great questions, met with all of our instructors, did well on the examinations, because we want to ensure that our students are understanding and learning. And if they have any other questions, we want to assist them, because we want them to be successful. By the time a student gets vetted and they're interviewed and they're coming to class, we want to make sure that they will be a success. So Mario actually relocated for his internship because he was so motivated to doing something different, to doing something better for his life. And so after internship, he was offered a position that allows him to work not only in the clinical research parts and the scientific parts of the protocols, but to also work in the business, in the development and the partnerships with sponsors and the partnerships with the sites. So I'm really excited to see where his career goes, because his model is slightly different because his aspirations are different.
Wow. And we just talked about 3 very different people with different backgrounds who were able to move quickly into the field of clinical research. And I want to share one more story about a student. She's from Atlanta, Georgia. Her name is Louisa, and she actually has a master's degree in I believe, biology or biological sciences. And she really wanted to get into clinical research. Her name's Louisa. This is Louisa right here. So Louisa was applying to all these jobs. She has a master's degree, and she knew she could be very successful in the field of clinical research. She saw hundreds of jobs in the Atlanta area, and she started applying. but could not get interviews. And she started to doubt herself. She started to lose confidence and wonder, is this something I'm doing? Am I doing something wrong? Why aren't I getting interviews? And really what it was, Jeannie, is she didn't have the proper training and experience, and her resume didn't reflect that. So even though she's a really dynamic person, very bright, she couldn't even get an interview. But then she took our program, and she actually traveled to take our program. So she took our program out of state and then went back to Atlanta. She did her internship in the Atlanta area and was hired at Winship Cancer Center as a CRC, as a clinical research coordinator. And now she's in her dream career. And it really just took that extra training and support with her resume, with her cover letter, and our connections. Of course, we know a lot of people in Atlanta. Our national program director lives there, and we actually train in Atlanta throughout the year. And we have a class coming up there in November for any of you who are from Atlanta. But Louisa is someone who is able to move forward and take this class and then jump right into a really, really great position. So we're all really proud of her. And again, just to reiterate, the 3 key elements to getting hired, it's training, experience, and connections. But right below it says support and mentorship. And Jeannie, I think you have provided so much mentorship to our students and so much support. Can you talk a little bit about what that means?
So what that means, and I think that is kind of the secret, without giving away too much of our secret sauce, you're not going to find another program that supports our students, because like I said, once they are admitted to our school, we work very, very extremely hard to help our students secure a job. Because I always say, in my protocol, there are 2 objectives or 2 outcomes that I'm looking for. The first one is to train these students to be very successful so that they're proficient, they're knowledgeable, and they have the training hands-on to do the things that are required of them in that position. And typically it's speaking to the site projects and the trials. And the second objective is to help them land a job. Now, sometimes I have students that want the job first before they get the training, and that doesn't bode well for anyone. And so what that looks like, that's kind of unsaid, is we have these hard skills that we train and our students learn, but we have these soft skills that we're teaching, the professionalism that is so needed in this field, to be able to communicate with your patients and to get the data that is needed to determine if this is safe, if this is effective, and should this project move on, should it move forward. And with the diversity of the patients that we need for these trials, when you look at our students, we are giving the industry what it needs through diverse people who are working in this field, so that the patients who are meeting these people, all of a sudden they feel a little bit more comfortable because they look like them, because they understand their culture, because they speak their language. And so I think that's a beautiful thing. And what we do at Fastrack is we provide that support throughout the process. Yes, we can give them the training, but we give them that support to interview them, to build up their self-confidence, to let them know that they've got what it takes, because we wouldn't have brought them forward if we didn't believe in them.
Yeah, so there is an application process to get into our program, and we accept really qualified, talented people like Mario, like Candice, like Louisa and Piranha, who they just need that extra training, support, mentorship to get into the field. And really everyone needs those connections to get in, plus that training, so they can really interview well. There's over 70,000 unfilled positions. There's a lot of demand, but you have to have the right training and experience. I want to open it up to questions. You guys can all ask questions. And I know we've brought up a lot of different topics. And while we're receiving some of those questions, I want to share a special offer for this year. Anyone who enrolls in our program this year and who's seen our webinar, they can just tell their admissions representatives the code webinar 500 and have a $500 scholarship off of our program. So a lot of people I know are interested in scholarships and they're interested in our program. So please feel free to give us a call if you need more information. This is our phone number, 602-883-6255. 7944, or you can email us at contact@clinicalresearchfastrack.com, and there's our website as well. Okay, so for any of you, if you'd like, there's a Q&A section. You're welcome to ask a question. We just have a few more minutes, and while we're waiting for those questions, Jeannie, I wanted to ask you, what's your favorite part of clinical research? Why is it such a wonderful field and you love it so much?
I love it so much because I'm never bored. I have a curious nature. I always want to help move a decision forward, know that I'm contributing to a bigger cause than myself, something that just means so much more. I can think of, on the ground level in the field, I see my patients and I know that I'm making today a little bit better because I'm giving them hope. I'm giving them a new medication because all the other ones didn't work for them. But on the other hand, there's something to be said about working on a project for years and years, and you're walking through the store and you kind of overhear the pharmacist mention a name of a drug that sounds familiar, and you realize that you helped bring that to market. And it pays off. There's a payoff that feels good when you're looking eyeball to eyeball with that patient, but there's a payoff and a really great feeling that there's no adjective that describes knowing that you had a hand in this. And I think all of my colleagues would say the same thing.
Yeah, and that's amazing that you're part of an industry, that we are part of an industry where we are helping change people's lives for the better. We're finding these new treatments that improve the quality of people's lives. And when you're in a field every day that you're that passionate about and you're helping others, it can be so rewarding. But also, we do have some questions. There's a question about what are some of the salaries in the field? And not only is this field rewarding because we're helping others, people are paid really well in this industry. I think after 2 years, a clinical research coordinator, the average in the United States salary is $60,000 a year. We work with many CRAs, clinical research associates, and these are people with usually 3, 4, 5 years experience in the field, and they are earning upwards of $100,000 and $110,000 a year. So there's some great salaries. Oh, another question is, what type of background you need to get into the field? And just from the people we've discussed today, most of them have a bachelor's degree, but it can be in different areas. And there are many people with healthcare backgrounds, but you don't have to have a healthcare background. You can come from a wide variety of backgrounds to get into the field. It looks like we have a couple more questions. Do we have training in the Northeast? So the beauty of our program is that we have training around the country, and our internships are at over 100 locations around the country. So we have internships, yes, in the Northeast. We do training programs in Philadelphia, and then the internships are in the surrounding areas. We have training programs in Atlanta in the Southeast, as I mentioned, as well as in Texas, in Arizona, and then we have internship sites in about 30 states around the country. So you could be doing the vast majority of your training so about 3 of those weeks would be in your hometown, and then you do need to take those 8 days at one of our training centers, and people will travel to a regional center near you. And here's one question. Talk about helping your students get hired. What do you guys specifically do to help your students get hired? Jeannie touched on some of those things. We help them with their resume, their cover letter, how they speak in an interview about clinical research. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that, Jeannie?
Yeah, so we go through a series of mock interviews. We talk about professionalism, so how you dress, how you look, how you smell, funny thing, right? So just how you can present yourself in the best light, how we can take your current experiences and your background and your training and your education to position you in the best light possible, because we know what they're looking for. We have a pretty good eye on it, and we want to be able to translate what that looks like. So often, people know that they're qualified, but they articulate it in such a way that it doesn't look like it to the receiving end that they are qualified, because they're talking about something that doesn't sound relevant. So we make it look relevant and be relevant with the proper keywords, with our expertise in positioning themselves so that they look like the best candidate that they've got out there, because we know the competition is pretty heavy. So we actually do that a lot. We want to let our students know that.
There is competition, but our students are getting hired and right out of our training because they're being prepared. Someone asked about the internship spots. Do we help? Of course. We actually schedule your internship. These are with our affiliates around the country. It's not about a student finding their own internship, which some colleges do. We are affiliated with over 100 internship sites around the country, and we identify them, we schedule it for you, and we place you into that internship. And many of these sites are hiring. And in fact, that is how Mario got his job. He went right into an internship and they hired him right out of the internship. But the other students we mentioned, they used our connections and our network to find a job that wasn't at their internship, but at other places that we're very familiar with and we have connections with. And sometimes our students now are hiring, our graduates are hiring our students. So as our network has built over the years, we have our grads hiring our students. There's a question from a retail pharmacist about what types of positions are for him. And another person asked about, does this prepare you to be a CRC and a CRA? And I want to answer that question by saying, we provide the foundation core competencies that everyone in our industry needs to succeed. Depending on your background that you bring before you start our class, you could be moving into a CRC role, a data manager role, a regulatory specialist, or even a CRA role. So the foundation that a CRA needs and a CRC needs is the same, those core competencies and getting into the field. Typically a CRA requires more experience. So for someone who doesn't have experience in clinical research, they need to get some experience first. But how do you get that first job? Well, take our training, get into the industry, and eventually you'll become a CRA. And many of our students are starting as CRCs. So these are great questions. Oh my God, they keep
so many.
But we are actually out of time. And I always, in our program, we try to start on time, we end on time. You have so many great questions. So I just want to remind you all of the slide on the screen. We have a special going on right now. It's a $500 training scholarship for any of you who call in and mention that you saw the webinar, and you just say webinar 500 for that scholarship. And then our phone number is right here. Please give us a call. We're open usually, between the hours of about 8 to 4 or 5. And that's Pacific time, but we do. So if you're on the East Coast, try to call us during those hours. But I know we're open right now, and you can email us at contact@clinicalresearchfastrack.com. Jeannie, I want to thank you for spending this time with everyone on the webinar today. And for all of you who have been participating, it's been a really great group. This is a large group, and I hope we answered most of your questions, but please give us a call. And we do have representatives that can answer the rest of your questions about our programs and more about how we could help you with your particular background. Again, Jeannie, it's been such a pleasure to have you. 19 years of research experience. You have been in almost every role in terms of, you've been a monitor, a CRA, a clinical research coordinator, a consultant working with PIs, running and starting their research practices. Any last words for the group before we sign off?
A lot of these questions are very specific, and it looks like there's a lot of interest. And so I hope that they don't drop off. Call in, email in, and get the answers to the questions. Determine if this is a good fit for you, because you won't be bored. And maybe you'll wonder what those boring days were like if you ever do get too overwhelmed. Just kidding. So I think that I wish you guys the best of luck in our program, wherever you are in the country, whether that's going to be in Scottsdale, where we're at in headquarters, or across the country. You'll have a wonderful time. You'll have a fantastic time, but a time that you'll be learning so much that it does position you over and over again, as we've seen in our students, to be successful, to start this career that you'll never look back. I can promise you that.
This is a wonderful industry, and I'm just honored to be able to work with colleagues like you, Jeannie, and so many of our instructors and all of our students who are now working in the field. And it's such a pleasure to be a part of it. So thank you all for participating in our webinar today. If you are interested, call or email us. And this is a very rewarding career, and I am just thrilled to be a part of it. So we're going to sign off for now, but please call us with more questions, and all the best to all of you.